Hi, everybody. I am wondering whether to say good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I'm wondering which greeting to give because the registrations we received were from all the continents, from South America, North America, from Africa, from Asia, from Oceania, from everywhere. So I don't know what time it is wherever you are. And so I will just say greetings because greetings then covers everyone. So greetings, everybody. Feel at home, feel welcome. We are excited about this conversation we are just about to have. Please type in the chat and tell us where are you logging in from so that we can acknowledge you and see where you have joined in from. So where are you logging in from? Tell us that, and we shall then have a very warm welcome for you from whichever geography that you are logging in from. So tell us that before I introduce myself, introduce the panelists, the speakers tonight, and introduce what we want to do. All right, Prof. Mbele, you're in the USA, Minnesota. And then we have Wangari from Nairobi, Kenya. We have Kondwani from Lilongwe, Malawi. We have Abby from Nairobi as well. She says, good evening. Yes, it is evening here in Nairobi. I don't know what time it is wherever you are, but come and welcome everybody. You're in the right place. Another Nairobi. We have Pam from Nairobi, Kembo from, Nairobi. Nairobi seems to be taking the trophy here. This is how we roll. This is how we roll. Those of you who are not in Nairobi, not in Kenya, this is how we do things. We show up, we turn up, and it's a very exciting day, evening, night, morning, mid-morning, wherever you are. So happy to have you all and to have this wonderful, wonderful discussion that we're just about to kick in. So that you're from Washington, D.C. Yeah, DC, you've not left out the DC. You're from Washington, DC. So welcome. We say karibu, karibu sana for non-Swahili speakers. I don't know how to translate karibu because it's loosely translated to welcome. But when someone says welcome and when someone says karibu, those are two different things. The karibu has more weight, it has more warmth, it has more depth. So karibu sana, karibu sana. Yeah. So let's kick this show off on the road. Why are we here? What are we doing here? The invitation said culture speaks. It's a series of conversations around culture. And culture does speak. Many times it's said that culture is silent, culture is invisible, culture is that thread that nobody quite can tie together and name and put a picture to, put a face to, put a bullet point on. But culture does speak. It speaks out loud, it speaks softly, it's in the spoken, it's in the unspoken. And so today we want to talk about really what is the success of culture when we are talking about organizations and how they work? Why even are we having this conversation in the first place? Why is it important? What is important about it? Why have we gathered here and we are going to spend time together? Because we could be doing so many other things, so many different things. If I asked you, what would you be doing if you are not here now? You would tell me so many important things that you would be doing. So, why are we gathering here to talk about this? Why do we feel that this is important? And why is it such a heavy topic with heavy weight, high impact, high substance that has caused us to want to just gather and speak about this, not just today, but in a series of conversations over time? And we'll unpack this layer after layer, layer after layer. People say peeling the onion. And I was going to say we're going to peel the onion, but we hardly ever peel onions. I don't know who came up with that. We cut them, we chop them, we dice them, we slice them. I don't know who peels or onions. We peel oranges. So I'm not sure where that came from. Maybe it's a culture matter and we can delve into it today. And so today with me here, before I introduce myself, I'm the moderator for the day. As you can see, I'm going to be hosting, speaking, and getting this conversation well organized. I have two great, great speakers. These are fabulous human beings. You want to know them. You want to be in their presence. You want to hear from them. And so I will introduce Susan first. Ladies first. Is that a culture thing? Maybe I should ask that question first because we always say ladies first. Is that a culture thing? Should ladies go first or should gentlemen go first? Because we don't know what's ahead. They're supposed to be the protectors, they're supposed to be the leaders. Should it not be gentlemen first? Maybe we can see where this culture came from and what we want to talk about around it and about it. But let me introduce Susan to you. Susan is a global expert. That's what I want to say. She's this distinguished leader and she causes businesses to turn around and to transform. She's very passionate about projects. So she's a project management professional, a project management expert, a project management guru, and everything is a project. I tell you, even if you want to make a meal, that's a project. What material do we need? What timelines do we need? What resources do we need? What people do we need? What outcome do we need? What milestones do everything is a project. So when you speak to Susan, then you know just how important it is to have a project mindset and to have project management go well. So she works across the globe in different countries. And so culture is a dear, dear subject to her because you can imagine managing a team across geographies, across cultural team. How do you ensure things go well? She's a speaker on this subject and on the subject of leadership, strategy, projects. She's an advisor, a coach. I could go on and on and on and on and on about Susan. And I won't even start to talk about academics. I just want you to know that we have the right professional with us. Susan, please say hi to people before I introduce Prof.
Well, thank you, habari zenu. Welcome, everybody. It's really good to have everyone here from wherever you're calling from. So thank you for just carving out time to join us because as much as we are here to present, we are really here to talk together and discuss your questions and what we bring in. But thank you so much for everyone for coming. Thank you.
Yeah, do follow Susan on LinkedIn. She has very many interesting stories that she tells when she travels around the world, meeting different people, interacting with their culture, understanding how culture affects different spheres and different spaces. So please do follow Susan and let's keep connecting. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Prof. We call him Prof. It's Joseph Mbele, but we like to call him Prof. Prof. Joseph Mbele is really a person that thinks deeply, is very reflective, has a lot of wisdom. If you want to know the epitome of wisdom here, it sits. He's been teaching and he's been working in the field of academia and knowledge transfer, capacity building, education, and all of this for a long time. He started his teaching career in the University of Dar es Salaam in 1976. Let me repeat that. 1976. I can gladly say I was here in 1976. I will not ask all of you in this call, where were you in 1976? Because some may say they were not even yet an idea. And so Prof has been doing this for a long time. So he comes with extensive experience, extensive acumen, extensive competence. His passion is in helping people to navigate cultures, to navigate cultural differences. His business is called AfriConnection, AfriConnection. And so he helps people around the world connect through different cultures. How do Africans and Americans navigate culture? Because he's sitting in America right now. He writes, in fact, he's told us right now he's researching and writing a book, writing volumes for academia. He's just been having his head in the writing space. He has written two popular books, and I encourage you to follow him online as well and get the books. It's Africans and Americans Embracing Cultural Differences, and then Chickens in the Bus, more thoughts on cultural differences. So, yeah, we have the right people here with us, and we are going to have this conversation on culture. I'm Carol Gather. I am a consultant in the area of strategy, business development, communication, customer experience. And so this is an area that speaks to my heart because we say that culture is everything. Everywhere we go and we try to get people to handle the internal customer experience with employees and the external customer experience with actual customers or stakeholder experience with stakeholder relationship management. Culture eats everything. It eats strategy for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner. As we say, we are Africans, we eat all the time. Culture eats uji at tea time. It eats jugus, peanuts. It eats porridge. It eats boiled maize. It eats boiled eggs on the roadside. Street food culture. Culture eats everything all the time. It's not just as Peter Drucker said that it eats strategy for breakfast. Breakfast is too small. It eats absolutely everything. And so it's my passion to be here and to run with this conversation. And so we shall kick it off and we shall, this is how we will run. We'll have a conversation with both Prof and Susan, and then we'll take your questions and answers and then run with it like that. And so please keep your questions coming in the chat, even as we have the conversation going. So, Prof, we start with you. Why are we here? Why is it important to talk about this subject? What has caused us to gather here today to give this subject the space and the importance that it desires? Why talk about culture at all? Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I can only say a few things because the topic is so vast and I've spent years working on it. You will need to give me a whole year to talk. Uh, we have only 1 hour.
Yes.
But here is a little summary of things I've learned and things I would like to share. Um, we all grow up in our own cultures. I see, my neighbor here from Malawi, for example, and somebody else is from Denmark, say, just as an example.
Yes.
And I'm from Tanzania. Somebody else is from Australia. Um, Wherever we grow up, we assimilate the culture, the ways of doing things, the ways of communicating, behaviors which are acceptable and not acceptable. There are so many, many things, and they come naturally to us. We grew up with them, we don't even think about them. And we think about what we do as not just normal, because we don't even think about them or talk about them.
Right.
They're very normal,
Mm.
just like breathing or walking. And then we get the feeling that they are the norm. So the person growing up in Australia, they really just take it for granted that their ways are the norm.
Mm.
And the person growing up in Malawi, feels the same way. They don't even
Right.
think about it.
Yes.
Problem comes when we meet. Say you come from Malawi and you go to study in Australia. And I came from Tanzania, I came to study in the USA.
Mm-hmm.
That is where problems start. You have all these questions about the people you find yourself among. You wonder why they do this, why they do that, why they did this and it's offensive. They did this and I didn't understand it. They are crazy, they don't have a clue. Of course, they think the same thing about you.
Yes.
They watch you, they listen to you, they observe the way you do things. You are crazy.
You're crazy.
Uh, but you are not crazy because what you do is the right thing. This
Right.
is how problems arise.
Right.
Whether you are doing international business,
Mm.
whether you are in a friendship or in a marriage relationship.
Mm.
Um, so it's this problem that makes me so passionate about trying to find answers and help people. I
Yeah.
experienced it myself because I came to study in the USA.
Yes.
And I've been advising Americans who go to Africa to
Mm.
volunteer, to study,
Mm.
to work. It's a big problem.
Mm.
And finally, the biggest problem is, again, people generally don't think about this. Right now, I have encountered two American institutions, companies actually. They are trying to set up business in Tanzania.
Uh-huh.
They are very happy, they're very happy. They think they're just going there and it's going to be like the USA. They are really happy.
Uh-huh.
And I'm worrying about the mess they're going to find themselves in
Right.
because they will be talking like Americans, they will be thinking like Americans, and
Yes.
they're very happy. They have an opening in Tanzania.
Right.
I feel like screaming at them and telling them, wait a minute,
Wait
you
a
are getting into
minute.
serious trouble.
Mm. Mm.
So, to cut a
Right.
long story short, that's what makes me so passionate.
Yes. Yes.
And
I can.
I'm so excited we're having these conversations,
Right.
and it will be again and again and again.
Yeah.
Let me stop there for now.
All right, I can see why you need a whole year to talk about this. I have really been tickled by how you are so concerned by this cross-cultural engagement and that is going to happen, and that the different people will have different thought processes, and yet they're not anticipating that that could be the cause of something deeper. Let me ask you, Susan, Prof has said that sometimes people do things and you think they're crazy. For sure. Even in the workplace sometimes, you look at your colleague and you're like, are you crazy? Are you crazy? What has been your experience with culture in the workplace and people sometimes just absolutely wondering, what is wrong with this person? Yeah, what have you seen? And that then dovetails into why we must talk about this.
I feel like I also need a year to unpack what I have seen in my space
Mm,
as a project manager, as an advisor. Um, just to define a few things, when you're talking or looking at culture, you have to remember that culture is not about good or bad. It is what it is. And culture affects all of us, regardless of where you sit in the globe, regardless of which company you work in, and sometimes even at the family level, because that's the first team you encounter.
mm,
So if you take that backdrop of
mm,
it's a group phenomenon, that it affects all industries, and that it's not about good or bad, it's just us trying to understand, as Professor put it, that when we come together is when you start feeling the effects, because everyone is coming in with their preferences.
yeah,
From when you are born to now you're working, you're coming in with your culture as groomed. So let's just isolate the working environment, the organization, your specific department. Maybe that's the first day you go in and you've come from another organization,
mm,
and the first thing you hear, That's not how we do it here.
Yeah.
So as a new employee, right there, you're encountering culture because someone is already stopping you, you and your fresh ideas. And Susan comes in and I want to get the project going. But one person is telling me this is not how we do it. Another person is saying, oh, I have an idea. So who wins? How do I get my project completed on time? How do we complete the project and get the outcomes that we want? So in the organization, that's how culture manifests itself. Because there are those who've worked there for years, and then there are those newcomers. And then, of course, there's the structure,
Yeah.
right? You have your boss,
Yeah.
and you cannot cross and go to another department without so-called the permission.
Yeah.
So without going into really details as you're thinking and as we're discussing culture, think about, it's not about good or bad. It is how it manifests itself in that environment, the organization,
Right.
or how it manifests itself in the team dynamics. And then if you take it broadly, how it manifests itself when you travel from, in this case, as Professor said, as an investor from one country to another, and you think, this is my checklist, this is what we're going to do, and we have to have our meeting start on time, and forget about greeting people. So at a national level, it manifests itself that way. At a organizational level, it has a way it shows up. And then at the team dynamics, it also has its way of showing up. So that is culture in a nutshell. Yep.
In a nutshell. Indeed, you also need a whole other year to, you've spoken about so many things. And the biggest point I'm picking is that there's nothing really specifically say good or bad. It's how we understand it. What shape is it taking? What do I need to do to adapt, to adjust? What do I need to do to influence positively, possibly? You've talked about greetings. There's so much in over here. If you don't greet people, it's a problem. The customer will be so annoyed. The stakeholder will be so annoyed. And you're wondering what's going on. Why are they making so much noise about what seemed to have been a small thing? But actually, it's that you didn't greet them. In Swahili, the customer would be saying, Ata hakunisalimia, loosely translated into, they didn't even greet me. So you've gone straight into business. And some cultures are like that. Cut to the chase, be very efficient, go straight into business. And other people are waiting to be greeted and to be affirmed before you even start communicating anything. Prof, let me come back
Yeah.
to you on this matter. You know, culture seems to be an invisible thread that ties things together. But sometimes we assume that culture is very visible. And generally, when you talk about culture on this side, people think about dress. If it's Kenyan, they think about a Maasai, or think about beadwork and all of these things. If it's down South Africa, they'll think about the Zulus and all their skins and things like that. Or if it's recently, like in this recent World Cup, they'll think about all, Norway and the Norwegians rowing back and forth in celebration and in excitement. So culture is visible, we think, but there's this whole school of thought that it is invisible. Is it visible or invisible? What do you think?
Yeah. That's a very good question. And from my experience, um, when people start talking about culture, they get into abstractions,
Mm-hmm.
theorizing, and things
Mm-hmm.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they get lost in these abstractions.
Yes.
Instead of all this, I decided long ago, more than 30 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
to focus on real issues that crop up when people meet. You
Okay.
are an American and somebody else is an African.
Mm-hmm.
I explore, the way you differ, how you talk, how you think, your values, your likes and dislikes. You talked about greetings here.
Yes.
So, what are greetings in the African culture?
Mm-hmm.
You know, they are a ritual. It's a kind of ritual. You don't just say hello. Americans will say hello and they're gone. The traditional African, let me say it that way, the traditional African takes greetings as a very elaborate ritual. They ask about you, about your family, about your relatives.
Mm-hmm.
They heard your grandmother was ill. How is she doing?
Yes.
We heard you bought a goat. How is it?
Yes.
I mean, you know, there's a long conversation and it's all part of greetings. And that ritual has to be performed appropriately.
Hmm.
In fact, in my book, this one here,
Yes.
there's a whole chapter on those topics,
Right.
greetings and how elaborate they are in our culture. So
Right.
therefore, if we bring it to the topic for today,
Mm-hmm.
if these Americans that I'm talking about are now going to locate their business in Africa, they need to know um, they don't have to think in terms of just efficiency, efficiency, efficiency.
Yes.
A lot of time is spent on greetings, greeting everybody, the older people, the younger people, you know. It's not a waste of time.
Hmm.
And that's something Americans need to learn. It's not
Hmm.
a waste of time to
Hmm.
spend 20 minutes just greetings.
Right.
Um, so I'm concerned about these things which come when people interact, not the abstractions about culture, but real issues.
Real issues.
You said something. How does the American feel when you say that? We talk about communication today.
Yes.
Americans are very direct. They will say
Yes.
yes or they will say no.
Yes.
When they mean yes, when they mean no,
Yes.
or when they mean no. Africans, we are very sensitive to situations.
Hmm.
There are certain situations we want to say no, but we will not say no. We beat about the bush,
Yeah.
and that's appropriate communication.
Yeah.
Americans don't beat about the bush, and they can really offend the Africans
Yes.
without intending to offend.
Yes.
They will say no when you ask them something. And for Africans, that could be very rude.
Right.
And so you find these tensions arising. So, how
Hmm.
do you do business when you are not aware of what you are doing and the
Hmm.
consequences of it?
Hmm. Hmm.
Or when you are not prepared to do what those other people want to do, or
Hmm.
the way that when you're not prepared to behave according to the values of the
Hmm.
culture you're going to operate in.
Hmm. Right.
We will expand this topic in the
Right.
series,
Yes.
because in the
Yes.
future,
Yes.
we'll talk
Yes.
about how enterprises have failed across the world.
Hmm.
Americans failing. They
Yes.
set up a big operation in Germany and then they get into serious problems and they
Hmm.
fail. They come back
Right.
home.
Wow.
Or in,
Yes.
J- or in Japan or
Hmm.
wherever.
Hmm.
For me, culture has to do with these very real issues,
Real issues.
not abstractions.
Right, real issues, not abstractions. You remind me of an investment fund, an accelerator fund that I was doing work for, and the main funder was an American gentleman, and there was a WhatsApp group, and sometimes he would write things, and I would sidebar and say, "You have not said that," and he's wondering, Carol, what's the problem? What's the problem? I said, you cannot address people like that. We are Africans. This is Kenya. You can't just type like that. Did you press send? I'm asking, you typed this and you pressed send, and he's so clueless. He's wondering, what's the problem? What's the problem? So what you're saying is really real. And so even if there was funding, some people were a bit hesitant. And the way we need funds in Africa to drive enterprises and businesses and startups and organizations and funded programs, really the money. But some people were a bit hesitant. They were like, hey, the colonialist has come back to rough us up. That was the general feeling. Susan, Prof has said we need to deal with what's really real.
Hmm.
But how do we know what is really real? Because we're in the workplace, we are in organizations, we are running projects, businesses, and so on. And so I might be rubbing you the wrong way, and there's friction because I don't know how best to speak to you or to handle you. how do we know what's really real, like Prof is saying, that real issues? How do we observe this, or how would we empower ourselves to be more aware of the different cultures, even before we start to figure how to navigate? What have you seen?
Oh, that's a good question. Speaking from experience and having managed global teams, it really starts with awareness, like
Mm-hmm.
what we're doing today.
Mm-hmm.
We might be laughing and joking and looking at these examples, and like Professor shared an example where truly it's, someone traveling from the US to Africa. Um, I traveled from the US to Japan, totally different, and we were working with a team.
Yes.
So it starts with awareness as a leader, in my case, running a project. And before you go and jump into the efficiency of trying to get that project going
Mm-hmm.
with a kickoff meeting and you're looking at the project scope, because most of the projects I manage are IT projects
Yes.
where you have a deadline, there's an actual business problem you're trying to solve with either the software you're writing. So the idea of being efficient and reporting back and saying we should have the solution in place in 6 months, it's really taking the time up front and acknowledging that I'm working with people, maybe from India, some people come from Kenya, other people who are doing design work, they could be in Europe. Just acknowledge that we all bring in our differences, we all bring in our preferences, and just asking very simple question. Do
Mm-hmm.
you go by your first name or last name?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And understanding if someone is quiet, we cannot assume they don't know.
Right.
Maybe they want you to speak to them privately before you just spotlight on them and say, aha, your code was not working. What's going on? So right away, because of that shame,
Mm.
they shut off.
Right.
So what is real in a project situation where you acknowledge that people are from different countries, right?
Right.
Um, Deal with that before you even start on the project.
Mm.
And someone on the call today might say, okay, I don't work with a global team. I work with people from, the same city.
Yes.
Is just to acknowledge and say, okay, do we have all of us? And because right now you're dealing with organizational culture,
Yes.
do we all of us have the understanding of what is expected?
Mm.
I'll give you one
Mm.
example.
Yes.
You might be all working on a project and then suddenly your leadership says everything must be documented. And then you're thinking then saying, with all this documentation, it's going to add more time to what I need to do. Why are we even documenting
Mm-hmm.
anything? So
Yes.
from an organizational standpoint, when it comes to culture, is for the leaders to say, maybe because of compliance reasons, it is expected of us to document what we are doing, the output. If you have meetings, that you have summary of meetings, that you have an agenda, so that for compliance reasons, we need the documentation.
Right.
So as a
Right.
team, all of you have the same shared understanding of what's expected as opposed to some people are documenting, others are not documenting. So when HR is involved, they're not even sure what the real issue is. And
Yeah.
that could just be solved by the leaders providing the clarity. And
Yeah.
this example is speaking about organizational culture.
Yes.
What Prof was talking about is looking at those intercultural related challenges. So as
Mm.
today, I know we are defining the why, but anytime you hear culture, take a minute and ask yourself, are you talking about the national culture and how it could impact in intercultural communication?
Yes.
Or are you talking about challenges you're seeing in your organization and you don't understand? Let's say, for example, as a project manager, you're implementing an enterprise-wide solution and you realize that the finance team, they're on top of everything. But when you
Mm,
go to the marketing team, you almost have to beg them to do the
mm,
very same thing. So
yes,
why is it that these two departments, same organization, same project, they will act
right,
differently?
right.
So I think just to remember, like, yes, it's culture, but what about the culture do you want to understand?
Right. Got
Yep,
it.
yep,
Got it.
yep.
Got it. I
Yeah,
want to ask Prof to weigh in on that a little
yeah,
bit because there's culture, there's subcultures. You've even talked
yeah,
about
yeah,
national culture. I don't know about my
yeah,
African brothers
yeah,
and sisters here, but Kenyans, we have a culture of last minute.
no,
It is
yeah,
madness. You are saying, Prof, are you crazy? I wonder, are we crazy? We wait until the last minute to do our taxes and then the
no,
whole system crashes overnight. And we had
yeah,
from January to June, 6 months to do this thing. Over
yeah,
to you, Prof. Please speak into this
yeah,
matter.
yeah. I think it's getting very interesting. All my writings and all my speaking engagements focus on, say, Americans as a people, and then Africans as a people.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't look at the individual, units within a country, for me, Africa is a unit.
Yes,
And so I look at things that Africans have in common.
yes,
And I talk just like that. Susan has read my book, she knows.
yes,
So I make statements like, when I talk to the Americans, you go to Africa, you be prepared. The Africans are never on time.
mm,
You can say the meeting starts at 9. They
mm,
will say that the meeting will start at 9,
mm,
and you Americans will be there at 9.
mm,
The Africans might not be there. They might come an hour, 20 minutes late, 15, half an hour. And you'll be amazed to see that they all have watches, but they don't come on time.
right,
And you will wonder why they're wearing these watches. Okay. And I tell Africans who come to the USA, Africans, I don't care whether they are from Somalia or Senegal or Mozambique
yes,
or Kenya or Malawi.
yes,
I tell them in America, when they say there's dinner at 6, you have to be there at 6. If you are not there at 6, you are disrespecting the host. It's
right,
translated as disrespectfulness.
yes,
So, so I'm talking about those. But Susan very ably is now making us think about organizational culture. And
yes,
frankly, this is a new area for me. And
mm,
it's so vitally important.
yes,
I think in future conversations, we will need to zero in on this.
yes,
And back to the two things that have been said here already
yes,
about, you know, communication and talking and silence. You said, um, if somebody's quiet, it doesn't mean they are clueless or they are dumb or whatever. And this is a very important topic if you go to some cultures.
yeah,
It depends on, say, who is there. If the if the team that you are talking with is from a culture where they honor age,
mm,
seniority.
mm,
If there is somebody my age and I'm in the delegation with young kids of 40, you know, they might not talk. They wait for the older person to talk.
right,
So the young ones don't talk in certain cultures.
yes,
In fact, even as teachers, if we are culturally aware, we teach people from different parts of the world. You'll
mm,
find students who are very quiet in the classroom.
mm,
It's very easy to assume they are dumb,
mm,
but they are coming from a culture where they don't argue with the teacher, they don't speak, you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
Um, but American kids are different. They are always
mm,
talking and talking and talking
right,
and challenging
right,
you.
got you, got you.
And
Wow,
and if you are
yeah,
a traditional African, you might say these kids are rude.
mm-hmm.
But they come from a culture where, freedom of speech, everybody has the right to express their opinion. It doesn't
Yes,
matter whether you're young or old.
yes,
So
Yeah.
business, these issues come up. You have a business meeting between American delegation and the Kenyan delegation. These
Hmm.
dynamics of talking and how people talk, or whether they
Mhm.
talk at all,
Right.
in
Got
terms of age. But
yeah.
there's also the issue of silence and how it works in different cultures.
Yes.
Mhm.
Africans in a meeting can be silent for a while and just pondering the issues.
Mm.
Americans don't tolerate silence.
Okay.
They want things to be happening all the time, filling up all the minutes.
Right.
And so imagine you have Americans on one side and Africans on another side, and they're having a business meeting. The
Mm.
one side values silence in certain moments, the other side doesn't. And they'll keep talking, only to be
Wow.
seen as rude and to be seen as
Wow.
disrespectful.
Wow.
It's a
Yeah.
disaster.
It is. It truly is something to fathom and to think about. I want to ask you something, Susan, but just before I do that, I'm stuck at how Prof has said young kids of 40. Let me just marinate and meditate about his definition of young kids at 40. But the intergenerational dynamic sometimes can cause even the workplace, even community meetings and places of worship and things like that. And the culture around age and what age brings forth or doesn't, or what it commands or doesn't, those cultures can cause conflict even in the workplace and lots of misunderstanding. Susan, this whole thing of African timing, before you say what you wanted to say, I don't like it. My dear Africans in the room, I don't know whether we are going to succeed with this African timing thing. Prof has talked about it, but it's a thorn. It's a thorn. Over to you, Susan. Give us some one or two words before we open the floor.
Sure, it's a thorn, and once again, I have to keep injecting project management because everything in my world, like you said, I look at it through the lens of project management, where the timeline is always so defined. But when it comes to time, broadly speaking, and a way to understand it without always looking at it, remember, I'm coming from a position of culture is not good or bad. Your culture is not better than mine, and vice versa. But it's really to understand where does it stem from.
Uh-huh.
And when you look at different cultures in the world, and I'm speaking from someone who is a certified culture consultant and advisor, is there are cultures out there where they prioritize relationships over tasks.
Uh-huh.
Meaning, if you come from a culture that prioritize efficiency, you
Yes.
will get to your task and do whatever it takes to get it done.
Yes.
Because from the time you were born, from the time from home to school to competitions to you're going on vacation, but you're still answering emails, task, you're really, you come from a society that is task oriented.
Mm-hmm.
But if you also come from a society that is relationship oriented, you will start your meeting even 5-10 minutes late because you want to make sure you acknowledge the people,
Hmm.
that you say hello, that you just have time to say hello and to check in on the goat example, for
Yes.
example,
Yes.
right? So that is a important distinction. And if you use the US, it's heavily leaning towards task oriented.
Mm-hmm.
It's not been that way, and it's also it fluctuates, right, as we have more people. But if you look at most of the let's say African countries, some Asian countries, right,
Yes.
they're really relationship oriented.
Yes.
So if you look at the aspect of time, you might say these people are not on time. But if you look at what has transpired from the time they woke up to when they showed up to that meeting, it's not about them and the task. You
Yes.
find it's about the collective family. It could be about your neighbor. It could be
Mm.
about the cousin, it could be about the children, it could be about someone in your neighborhood is sick and maybe they needed, to come and ask you something. And as much as they know you're heading to the meeting, you're like, okay, I'm already late in my meeting, but tell me,
Yeah.
what's the problem? If you
Yeah.
look at the same situation from a task oriented, you might need to schedule a meeting because
Yeah.
it's all about efficiency in how we manage our time. So this is a broad topic.
Yes.
And to bring it home as to how do I use this information when I'm running project is I just understand who needs to make sure that they're acknowledged.
Mm-hmm.
How do I run my meeting? If I'm running my meeting with people from a really task-oriented culture, if it's a global team, I might skip the greetings. Not that I know they're not important,
Yeah.
but if I look at the composition of my team and I say relationship is key, I might just schedule a meeting where all we are doing is just getting to know each other, maybe over a meal. And then day two is when we get into the agenda because you're no longer at that point a stranger,
Got
but
it.
you become, yeah. So
Got
this is
it.
a dear topic and I wish we
Yeah.
had more time, but at least
Yeah.
it gives
Yeah.
you,
Mm.
maybe it puts you in a better position that it's not just as simple as saying they're late.
Yeah.
There is more to it than just lateness. Yep.
Absolutely,
Yep.
absolutely. And in the upcoming series, just to let members know, and if you want us to include you in the upcoming series, please check in the chat and send your emails to Susan's email. We have curated and queued up conversations about culture and different geographies, culture and technology, which is what we really must talk about and talk about urgently, culture and communication itself, culture and the words, actual words, spoken, unspoken. We're going to talk about culture and teams, managing teams, speaking about teams, and so on, culture and branding. So please ensure that you sign up and we will be in touch and communicate. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. We will be receiving questions as we go along. But what's coming out clearly, and I want to have you, Prof, say something into this as we look at any one or two questions that are coming. What Susan is talking about over and over again is in organization speak, we say know your customer, know your employee, know your stakeholder, KYC, KYS, and KYE. So you need to know, otherwise you'll walk into
Yeah.
something that will collapse, not because it was doomed to collapse, but because you were not aware. How do we get this awareness? Where do we
Yeah.
pick it up from?
Yeah. Conversations like this are vital,
Mm,
and they have to be ongoing. Sustainability of this kind of learning, because you can't learn everything in one day
yeah.
or in one meeting like this.
Yes.
It has to be a process that lasts throughout, your life, actually.
Hmm.
If you are engaging in a business relationship, make it a point to start this learning, and it should be part of the business. Throughout
Yes.
the life of that business, there should be
Hmm.
the learning and conversations like this, where
Hmm.
you sit and talk about issues that cropped up, misunderstandings.
Yes.
And for me, knowledge of this kind, say you are an American investing in Africa, or you are an African coming to the US to sell your product. If you know the American ways, that they are very direct in communication.
Yeah.
That they are this, they are this. When they do it, you don't feel offended.
Hmm.
You will be
Hmm.
you will understand that they mean well. That's their
Hmm.
culture. That's
Hmm.
their way of respecting me. That's a
Hmm.
different mindset.
Mindset.
And it will keep you at ease. It will keep you happy. You don't want to
Hmm.
go through life feeling miserable and
Yes.
offended
Yes.
when the other person was not even intending to offend you. You can
Right.
do your business and you are healthy
Yeah.
psychologically and otherwise. So
Yes.
there are these types of intangible benefits to
Mm-hmm.
learning about cultural differences.
Correct. Correct. I love that. I love that. I refuse to coast through life miserable. and being offended by things. No, 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 no. Yes, you have spoken. You have spoken like a thousand wise men today. If nothing else, let me learn about culture. Let me understand it so that I don't get pained, injured, and bruised by things as a result of my lack of knowledge and my assumption that the other person has come to just put me down and suppress me. Intergenerationally as well, Susan, in the workplace and in projects and so on. There's a lot that we don't know. And I know one of the series is purely on this. But there's people in the workplace across, there's Gen Zs, the proverbial Gen Zs being talked about. And I'm not one, I'm a Gen X, so we don't understand them. They also don't understand us. You've talked about asking and seeking clarity. How do we minimize the learning gap? Because we are working together. At the same time, we must learn and journey, as Prof is saying. How do we bridge that gap? Because this is it's almost a global problem.
Bridging the gap starts with the leadership.
Yeah.
And I say that because most of these organizations are structured in such a way for good reasons, liability and all, and just the way. And if you're having a massive organization, you just have to structure it where there's always a leader.
Yes.
When the learning and the knowledge sharing comes from the top down and there's
Mm,
clarity, it's
mm,
easier for the people downstream to be able to say, yeah, let's collaborate because it's encouraged, the tools are there, and also time has been allocated for that.
right.
So, for example, we are all talking about AI now. And if you were to look at your organization, have your leaders started talking about AI and how they might want to even get into it? Is that an organizational discussion? Because all of us have been put in a position where we have to learn, right?
Yes.
If you look at the learning from an individual standpoint, we can say, oh, I've tried this tool, I've tried that tool. But if you take yourself out of the equation and then you say that you're in the organization, what have your leaders said anything about the learning
Mm,
or the tools or the
mm,
investment?
mm,
So learning in this case, using AI presents an opportunity for all generations at the same time, for us to learn this tool, for us to learn how AI is going to disrupt our workflow, for us to learn how maybe some of my tasks are better done by AI.
yes.
But do you, as an organization, have that clarity and the
Mm,
blessing? And is it
mm,
being not compensated, but is it being, from HR standpoint, are people who are learning going to be recognized, or is it just, can you share in your department that, oh, I tried this tool? Or are you just doing it secretly and your emails look a certain way? So
right.
all that goes
Mm,
into this
mm.
generational way of learning.
Right. Yeah,
Yep, yep,
absolutely.
yep.
Absolutely. I can see we need another whole webinar just for that one. We are
Hmm.
coming to the tail end and almost wrapping up this one, maybe in the next five or so. We are having a whole series, as we have said, and so you can queue up your questions, send them in so that we can address them. Our next one will be on 15th of September. Please book that date, same time as this, 15th of September. Please calendarize it. I haven't seen any questions on the chat. We don't want to block out any of your questions. Please put them in there. We have about 5 minutes or so to wrap up because we did start 5 minutes into the hour. And so as we wrap up, Prof, Susan is talking about leadership and that this for culture to really take its rightful place, leadership must take responsibility. We have leaders in this room. I can see them here. They are leading great institutions, leading departments, leading projects, leading in their homes. What message do you have for them with regards to this as we close?
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's the beauty of what we are talking about here because culture permeates all these areas.
Yeah,
You know, you can talk about communication and culture is right there.
yes.
You can talk about um, personal relationship, marriage, for example, friendship,
Yes.
culture is there. You can talk
Yes.
about, leadership now. Leadership, culture is part of it. So, like we hinted before, in some cultures, the leader is perceived as, say, an elder, figure. I tell Americans all the time that if you are a leader in Africa, business leader, you lead an organization, you are the manager, for example, all the workforce, they look at you as a father figure or a mother figure.
Right.
When their child is ill, they will come to tell you, and you are supposed to take responsibility. That's
Right.
like a parent.
Yes.
So when Americans say keep matters of business, separate from personal matters,
Yes.
that's the American ideal, you
Mm.
know. But with Africans, all these are wrapped up. The
Yeah.
personal matters are also connected with the business matters. You are
Yeah.
the boss, so you are like a parent figure.
Yes.
I have to travel home, and you're supposed to give them 20 Kenyan shillings for the fare. You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
Americans will
Yes.
say you are mixing business and personal affairs.
Yes. That's
So
true.
leadership, if you're a leader in America, in an institution in America, that's fine. It works differently. There's that separation. But if you go then to become a leader in Africa, you
Mm.
need to change
You
your
need to
concept of who
change.
you are as a
Yeah.
leader.
Right.
And so the Africans who come to America, for example, they get frustrated because the manager doesn't care about their personal issues. And
Mm.
the Africans would like the American manager to be like the parent figure. It happened to
Mm.
me, I have to tell you.
Mm.
When I came to work here, I had the same African mindset about what
Mm.
my employer
Mm.
is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was used to the employer, the University of Dar es Salaam,
Yes.
where we have that kind of a relationship.
Yeah.
So that's the
Right.
little I can say for now about
Okay.
leadership and the things we are talking about here.
Right. Absolutely.
Carol,
Absolutely.
if
Yes,
I
go
may add
ahead.
to if I may add to that, because that manifested itself in a project team I was working with, and
Mm-hmm.
actually it was out in Mexico, and the larger team was in Mexico, and another team was in the US.
Mm-hmm.
And a project lead in the Mexican team, they lost their third cousin.
Okay.
The idea of you talking about, let's all get together on the work channels at 5 p.m. in this restaurant because so and so lost their third cousin, so that we can all contribute and do what we need to do because that's what our culture calls for.
Yes.
A manager in the US office said, you're not using the company resources. It's
Mm.
not meant for that. And
Mm.
that particular channel was closed.
Okay.
So everyone in Mexico is pretty offended. So
Mm.
all these came up during a workshop.
Mm.
And because I knew what it was, and during the workshop, I said, if you know your second and third cousin, raise your hand. Only the team in Mexico raised their hands and they could name and they could say, oh, we are 53, or we are this.
Yes.
But then the team in America, they're like, maybe I'm aware of some of my cousins, but my focus is really me and my immediate family.
Mm.
Remember, it's not
Mm.
about good culture, bad culture, but this is where those differences show up. And the reason why we had the workshop is because the idea that a group was not allowed or given space, or that nobody understood the meaning and the importance of a team being able to discuss
Yeah.
it actually affected the project.
Right. Wow.
So
Wow.
it was not
Imagine
about
that.
funding. It was not
Mm.
about we don't understand the scope, but it
Mm.
was just understanding other people's preferences and other people's culture
Mm. Mm.
practices that
Mm.
eventually affected the project we were working on. So
Wow.
that's just one example. There
Yes.
are many like that, and I'm looking at the time, and I don't know if any of the participants would just want to unmute and ask the question, because sometimes when it comes to culture, it's even hard to frame your question. You just want to speak it out. So if there's a brave soul out there that would like to unmute, we hear either your question or your comment, or if you've had anything like this, just let us know.
Yeah. Wow, what a story, Susan. Imagine that what was going to sink that ship was not a big thing. It was an infrastructure. It wasn't money. It was just a cultural issue around how do we handle loss? How do we communicate around loss in our culture? Fancy that. So culture is not invisible at all. It's so highly visible. We take the comment from Pam. Thank you for this enriching discussion. It was inspiring to hear different perspectives on culture. Indeed, very inspiring. Keep it right here. We are coming back with other subtopics on culture. Our big take home today for sure is know your customer, know your stakeholder, know your partner, know your employee, know that person or those people that you are going to interact with. Read up, find out, investigate, ask. Keep it real. Understand that where culture positions itself is so big, it's not a little small thing that needs to be ignored. Culture drives almost everything. We need to keep it not abstract and theoretical, just keeping it real and navigating in this world with such joy and keeping away all kinds of things that will cause us distress because we didn't take the time to know and to understand those that we are relating with. I think those are our big take-homes for today. Your final word, Susan, then your final word, Prof, and then we tell everybody bye-bye and they can go off into the day if it's daytime for you, or we can go off into the night if it is nighttime for us. So, Susan, your last words in around 30 seconds or so.
Thank you for coming. Culture matters regardless of which industry you work in, regardless of your position. So just do yourself a service and just educate yourself about it, because it's a deal. It's a game changer. Thank you.
Right. Culture matters and it is a game changer. Abby says, great discussion. I see culture goes beyond just our organizations. Looking forward to the next webinar. Yes, Abby, looking forward. You know, we are global citizens. We must prepare ourselves for the world. Kondwani says, absolutely wonderful discussion. Very insightful. Prof, please let us know your last words and then we can um, kiss everybody goodbye. I wonder whether kissing people goodbye is a cultural
Yeah.
thing or not, but we can kiss everyone goodbye.
Yeah. These issues we are raising, and there are many more, are unavoidable.
Mm,
We live in a global village now. You
mm,
can't hide, they will affect you whether you like it or not. So better
yes,
be prepared. Learn and learn and learn. That's the only way to go.
right. Learn and learn and learn. It's unavoidable. It's the only way to go. And with those wise words, thank you so much for coming, everyone. Thank you for being here. Please connect with us. Let's keep the conversations going in our workplaces, in our homes, in our communities, around Africa, around the world. We are here to ensure that we live well. As Prof said, we live soft life, very soft life. We are here for soft life and to enjoy it and not have culture take away from that. So bye all, be blessed, and we shall see you at the next session. Thank you for coming and have a good
Thank you.
time.